Silent Hill 2, the remake, when watching the original trailers and the gameplay, I actually thought this game looks fun. I do have a history with the franchise. I actually played through Silent Hill 1 over on my Let's Play channel, Degenerate Plays, so there's a shameless plug. The link to that is in the description down below. Silent Hill 2, its remake is not being met with a lot of enthusiasm from a lot of people. You have kind of a twofold problem here. You have a very passionate fan base that has gotten almost nothing for years, and the few things they got were not good for the most part. And then you also have a fan base who's interested in getting into Silent Hill who doesn't really know where to start because Konami did a really bad job of preserving the games. If you look back to the PS3 and Xbox 360 generation, there was a Silent Hill HD remaster, like a Silent Hill 2 and 3 re-release. The team did the best that they could, but Silent Hill, you know, the rights holders, the publishers, Konami, they had lost the source code, they had lost a lot of different stuff. The build that they gave the team to work with was an unfinished build of the games, to the point where they basically had to refinish the games and try and remaster them. It was a disaster. That's probably one of the worst ways to play these games, is that re-release on the Xbox 360 and PS3. So kind of cut forward to last week, and there were more interviews coming out surrounding Silent Hill 2, the game, which we do know Konami has been a little protective of the, I would say, marketing on. Even Blubber Team, who's working on the game, has multiple times said that they, you know, you kind of have to basically address Konami with your questions. And they said it nicer than this, but they kind of said that the marketing fell on Konami. They even said that Konami had been the one to do the trailer, and that some ways that they showed things in the trailer weren't exactly the way that they had wanted them to be shown. Essentially, that Blubber Team is kind of being told in a way, your job is to make the game. Konami is kind of having their own marketing people do it. Now, there is a lot of connections with original staff and also veterans. For example, Masahiro Ito, someone whose work I really respect, character designer and developer who is honestly largely responsible for a lot of the things in classic Silent Hill that you might think of when you see the series, is connected to this remake in an oversight role. That gives me a lot more, personally, comfort in it, but I know for a lot of people that's still not enough. So today I wanted to take a look at it. Should you be giving Silent Hill 2 a chance, the remake, and what is going on with this remake that's kind of making people so mad? I try and take a fair and balanced look at situations like this while also giving you my opinion. That's really the best I can do with it. I'm not a robot, I do have an opinion on it, so you'll hear that too. But if you enjoy the video, you want to leave a like, subscribe. Silent Hill is something I kind of circle back around to when time allows me to. It's probably my favorite video game horror franchise. It's up there with Resident Evil. I know it's very basic. I'm a basic bitch, but I love them to death. I do have a question of the day for you, which would be, are you going to try this game? Are you going to care about this game at all? And why? Now, I ask you to keep it a little, you know, settle down if you can, because I know people get very passionate about this topic. Every time I talk about it, the comment sections are filled with people fighting each other. It's like, guys, you don't know each other. It's okay to chill a little bit, just talk about it. But for me, when they announced this game, it was kind of weird. You know, just to kind of look back at when it was announced, it was something where most people thought Silent Hill was dead, and there were rumors for years and years, oh, maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't, no, it's coming back, oh no, it's not, and people were kind of jerked back and forth about it, to the point where it got very, very tiresome, and I think that's something that really didn't help by the time they finally got around to reviving this brand. Silent Hill also has a very troubled history because really the original 3 games are what's looked at as the golden era. People overlook the 4th game. I think it's very good. I don't know why they overlook it. 1 through 4 were by Team Silent. They were in-house developed by Konami, and Team Silent was an unknown group, essentially, of video game developers who, in a lot of ways, hadn't proven themselves. Konami as a company thought that they weren't really going to go anywhere, and they tasked them with making this game that they didn't really think was a big risk, and they didn't think would go anywhere, and they didn't think the team would really be able to follow through on. You know, it's kind of something like, you're basically giving people one last chance to prove that they're useful to your company, but you kind of think that they're not gonna be, and you're probably gonna let them go by the end. A lot of the people who end up on Team Silent were like that. I'm not trying to say they're failures. They obviously aren't. They made one of the best horror games, I think, of all time that launched, into a successful franchise. But at the time, Konami was it was like doing the reverse quiet quitting that I think America knows about, where it's like you show up, do the bare minimum, and leave. Konami was expecting that from the team and expecting them not to go anywhere. The reason I bring that up is because that same team created Silent Hill 1 and went on to create Silent Hill 2, and even though they lost people over the years, 3 and 4. And a lot of the oversight of those games was handled by some of the same people. Now, Silent Hill eventually got to the point where it was being shopped out to European and other development teams, which are very good at making their own games, but did not really capture the feeling of what people wanted in Silent Hill with later entries, and eventually the franchise fizzled out and died for a very long time. Then Konami went on to become a company that licensed a lot of its characters for things like pachinko machines, kind of raking in money there. But as the sentiment on even gambling in Japan started to kind of shift and younger people were getting more interested in video games again, I'm very much simplifying a lot of history here. So yes, you can get into the nuances in the comments. I'd be interested in your thoughts on it. Konami started realizing that they were missing out on money by not bringing this back. I think at the end of the day, we can all agree that that's why this came back, is for money. Konami's not altruistic. We know the reason this came back and Metal Gear came back is money. But this has put Blubber Team, all of this history, that the reason I could talk about it is because it's put Blubber Team, who's making this game, in a very difficult situation. They are kind of at the front, and they are the people that you see that are taking the brunt of criticisms on this game. Some criticisms that are very valid, I believe, some that are overreaching by a lot, but they are the one you see. They're basically the cashier at the department store or at the retail store or whatever. You don't actually see the manager most of the time, and even if you do, you don't see the corporate above them who's making all the decisions. You don't see Konami, right? You see the checkout worker, you see the developer. And so these guys are kind of getting bombarded with all of the criticisms around this remake, and eventually it hit a point in an interview, I believe about a week ago, where the game producer actually told Rolling Stone that Blubber Team appreciated fan feedback, said it was invaluable in refining our project before its release, but also said that they wish that people would kind of just give them a chance, saying, "I am dreaming that gamers will trust us, but I realize that trust is earned through actions, not through words. That's why we have a policy of not commenting on the specifics of the game and raising hopes. We want to show our ambitions through our work, so we can't ask for anything more than give us a chance." And a lot of people memed on this. They were like, well, if this was good, you wouldn't be asking for people to give it a chance. If this was good, you wouldn't be asking for this and that. And I'm kind of sitting here, and this is where I think criticisms become a little unfair. If you're working on something and it's just getting dogged on, you're getting dogpiled, you're getting criticism after criticism, I don't think it matters if it's good or not in the sense of what you're thinking as a creator. Deep down, in some ways, you are thinking, well, hold on, this isn't even out yet. Now, look, I will absolutely say there's plenty of things that I will criticize elements of before they come out. And even with this game, there's things I actually don't like that we've seen. I think the gameplay looks fun and interesting so far. I really miss fixed camera angles. I think Silent Hill loses a lot of charm without that, for example, but the industry has gone away from them, and every time I bring it up, players say that they've gone away from them too, and that I'm in the minority and they don't want those. So for example, that's something that to me is missing when you play a Silent Hill game and there's not a fixed camera angle, at least from these original 4, if you're trying to remake those. That's something that to me brought a lot of personality to the rooms, brought a lot of liminal spaces feelings to some of the areas, and also concealed your vision so that they could do things off screen that wouldn't necessarily be doable if you have an over-the-shoulder perspective. That's something I don't like about modern gaming with horror, is we don't really see much of fixed camera angles anymore. And that's something that Silent Hill 2 Remake went away from, right? That's a criticism I understand. Another criticism I understand is actually Maria. The clothing of this character, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the game, and I don't want to spoil it if you're not, if you're just someone saying like, well, should I try this or not? In the original game, she's presented very sexual, and it's on purpose. It's not just because of horniness. It was because, well, it has to do with character horniness, but it was also because of a deeper meaning behind the character. And when they actually revealed her character model in one of the more recent trailers, she was a little more covered up. Her outfit was a little different. And now that's something where I think, okay, well, this is a very valid concern, right? Like, did you miss the point of Maria? Did you miss the point of who this character is by doing that? However, if you also do a little research on the game, you can very quickly, I will say, do not research this game if you don't want the story spoiled. If you research the character design of Maria, you'll actually see that her original outfit was just based on a Christina Aguilera look, because Christina Aguilera was a sex symbol at the time. So they were kind of looking at what's sexy in the Western world, and they made something based off of that. So it's like Maria's outfit itself didn't have deeper meaning as an outfit, but the way it presented her openly sexually did. See what I mean? So some people worry, okay, well, are you missing the point on this? And I think that that kind of thing is fair. There are other criticisms that I feel like people really have to reach more than Mr. Fantastic for. For example, a character named Angela, who is a victim of a lot in the original game, and a lot of people saw this woman who just looked pretty normal. And if you look at a lot of the thumbnails from YouTubers and other people on different websites criticizing this, they'll say like, oh, she's ugly now, she's fat now, this and that. But almost every time, they've digitally enhanced the image to make her look bigger. Like, they've expanded the face, they've literally photoshopped it to make it more of an accentuated thing than it is. In the original game, Angela was just a normal, average looking girl. She was not really an object of desire. And I say object of desire as someone with a literature background. A lot of times there are characters that are seen as an object of desire from the aspect or view of another character. And Angela wasn't that when it came to James. Angela wasn't that when it came to the player. She was just another person you encounter in Silent Hill who's going through a lot that you learn more about over the course of the game. So when I see that criticism, I think that's a big reach. You know, when we have to reach that criticism to actually use Photoshop or AI to expand this fake character's face to make her face fat like a chipmunk, it's like, yeah, her face doesn't look exactly like what it did in the original. Neither does Maria's. Neither does James's, because it is a remake. I don't think I've ever seen a remake where it looks exactly the same. A remake, not a remaster, a remake. There is also something to say about keeping it in the spirit of the original. Final Fantasy VII Remake did a really good job of keeping the characters in the spirit of the original art. So I understand concerns with that, but then even when Blubber, who by the way is a little more proven than Team Silent was when they released their original game, you have to think this is also a team that was best known for making things like Layers of Fear, a game that is overall considered very good and enjoyed. There were some other things they made that are not as popular, I completely agree, but none of them are like a disaster. They did Blair Witch, you know, they did The Medium. I don't really, this is something to me where it almost feels to me like Blubber as a team, if we were just looking at an unknown horror game and their track record versus Team Silent's track record, I would trust Blubber to make something good over Team Silent, because Team Silent hadn't made anything yet. I'm saying as of Silent Hill 1, if these two teams had come up and you had Blubber Team with like multiple games under their belt that worked out, I would say, okay, well, they're probably more likely to make something, right? But that's why Team Silent worked, was because they were the underdog and they had to prove themselves. So then you say, well, is Blubber in that same position or not? Well, they're getting a lot of hate. They're getting a lot of criticism, and criticism is not hate, but they are also getting a lot of actual legitimate visceral hate and just genuine disdain from people, because they are the team that is focused on remaking one of the honestly most critically acclaimed and probably greatest horror games of all time. I guess my thing is, I think it's sad that just saying, hey, we want you to give us a chance is worthy of so much anger. worthy of so much backlash, because there has been a lot, especially from the normal, what would you say, the usual suspects of YouTubers who complain about everything. Like, every single thing that comes out is a problem. Everything's woke. Everything's the worst thing ever. There's no nuance to it. It's just thing bad. Oh, new thing bad. Oh, new thing bad. At the same time, there are a lot of people, because I don't want to just be sitting here yapping, saying nothing, who will consume everything. Every single thing that's thrown on their plate is good. Oh, good. New product. Eat, yum, yum, yum. Fat now. Move on to next thing. I don't think gamers should really be looking at things from either of those perspectives. I actually think if you're looking at things from either of those perspectives in your life on any situation, you're going to be miserable. But there's also a very big visceral fan reaction of no matter what they do, it's bad, it's not worth giving a chance, they suck. I don't really think either of these is healthy. At the very least, I feel like the least someone could do, if they're at all interested in this game, is wait till it comes out and watch a YouTube gameplay video of the first hour, or two videos, I don't know, of the first hour, and see what you think. Video games are too expensive now for people to just blow their money on giving someone a chance. So like, if you expect people to just drop $70 plus tax to give you a chance, that's in America, it's probably not going to happen, and they'll probably be very harsh on your thing. But I guess I'm also a little confused as to why this became such an angering topic. The worst thing that could happen is this game comes out, it is really for a modern audience, because they've thrown around the term modern a few times, which I think is more just saying, hey, it's 2024 now, it's not when Silent Hill 2, the original, came out, so obviously this is the era we're in. But a lot of people use modern audience as a buzzword, both to fearmonger and also to get people on board. Like, yes, that problematic game from the past, now redeveloped and made better for a modern audience of higher sensibilities. Yes, pass me the tea, please. That's dumb when people do that. But just because they say modern at one point doesn't necessarily mean that this game is ultra woke and like the biggest problem of all time. I guess I just don't really understand some of the response around this, because to me, when I see stuff like this, I kind of think, oh, well, maybe I should wait and see, what this looks like on YouTube if I'm not really the most interested in this. Oh, it didn't look that great? Oh, well, I think I'm good. And that's really about all it comes down to. And I get that this is such a beloved game to be getting remade, but I guess if, hey, we've seen a lot of criticism online, the game's not out yet, maybe just give it till release week and see what you think. If that kind of statement, like maybe just see if you like it then, is really that upsetting, I kind of feel like people need to reevaluate their priorities and what matters to them in life. Because at the end of the day, it would suck if this remake is bad. It absolutely would. But some of the reactions I've seen around it make me think Blubber Team was kidnapping people's grandmas and torturing them in their basement on live video or something. As a closing thought, I think Konami could really fix the situation around Silent Hill if they would actually just put a team behind remastering the original 4 games. After that, do what you want. I think Shattered Memories, I think things like Origins, those could be fun. But overall, people love the first 3 the most, and I'm throwing 4 in there because it gets overlooked. The last time they did any kind of remaster like that was a joke because they didn't give them enough time, they didn't put enough money and effort into it, and they had done such a piss poor job of actually maintaining their games that they had lost that code. I think that if they did what Konami did with the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, except took more time to get it right at launch instead of patching it, if they could do that, I think a lot of these criticisms wouldn't be as big. You know why? Because people would have a better way to play the game than busting out an old CRT TV or having to emulate the game on their computer. They would have a more accessible, easy way to play the original game right now, and they wouldn't need to worry about a remake or anything else. And I think that that's where the Silent Hill brand really dropped the ball, is being unavailable for so many years. And even now that it's having a comeback, it didn't get any kind of remastered collection or anything like that announced, even though Metal Gear did. It's odd to me the way the series is being treated, but also the way some people are acting to me is just bizarre and way too attached. If you enjoyed this video, you want to leave a like, subscribe, I appreciate that very much. You can always support this channel with multiple things. We have a store, which is Cosmo Bunny Shop. I'm not going to get too far into that, but that link is in our description. You can use code DJAY 123 for 10% off there. You can also use our Fortnite code. I know there's probably not a huge crossover between Silent Hill players and Fortnite players, but if you want to use that, that does help us out a lot. And we have several other channels, one of which is Degenerate Plays, where I actually played through Silent Hill 1 with my wife Jill. So if you want to check that out, that'll be in the description. And also another one is actually JayRPG, where I take a look at role-playing games and RPG adjacent games. Have a fun time over there. Recently, we've been talking a little bit about Final Fantasy. So have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone, stay shway.